Hello and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide, where today I'm here at the Alton Towers Resort to talk about something really exciting: secret weapon roller coasters. Over the years, Alton Towers have given code names to some of their big rides, and yes, it's been over 4 years since the last secret weapon, which was number 8, Wicker Man, opened here at the park. And that's really got me thinking about when we're going to see the next big coaster installation built here at Alton Towers. And not just when, but also where in the resort could we see this next big ride be built. Now, before I go into that, I just want to share a little bit of history about the secret weapon program, because it dates way back to the early 90s when Alton Towers were planning a big ride to head into a new themed area called Forbidden Valley. It would be a complete transformation of that area, and secret weapon 1 and 2 were designed as previous designs to what was actually built, which was secret weapon 3, Nemesis, and that's what started it all. So number 1 and 2 were never built on that site, and the first one in that program to be built was Nemesis back in 1994. Following on from that, 4 years later, 1998 saw the opening of Oblivion as Secret Weapon 4. We then saw Secret Weapon 5, which at the time was Air, now known as Galactica, open again 4 years later in 2002. There was then a gap to the SW program when Alton Towers had a change of management, but we did still see coasters going, such as Spinball Whizzer in 2004 and Rita in 2005. And it wasn't until the corkscrew was actually removed at the end of 2008 that we next heard of the secret weapon program coming back here to Alton Towers. Now, that was actually with the installation of 13 back in 2010, known as Secret Weapon 6. Following on from that, Secret Weapon 7, the Smiler, opened in 2013, and then of course the most recent of the SWs, number 8, which was Wicker Man, back in 2018. So yeah, that's a bit of history for you about the SW project. Now, you may be thinking, hang on a minute Sean, why have you chosen to film this intro to such a big video about future coasters at Alton Towers here on the car park, and actually car parks G&H? Well, there's a reason behind that. That's because this could possibly be the site of a new roller coaster at Alton Towers in the future. Now, for those of you that don't know where car parks G&H are, they're actually the ones that you see when you're riding on Galactica just there. And yeah, it's this huge space all the way across here between Forbidden Valley and Extraordinary Golf that's just over at the side over there. Now, if we go back to 2010 and this document just here, this shows their original 10-year development plan from that time period. Of course, 13 was opening, and yeah, if we look at this document, it also lists off possible coaster sites. Now, of course, things change. Things have changed massively, especially these past few years. However, Alton Towers, as much as it's over 500 acres, it's a huge site, it's actually still very limited to where it can build. So I think if we look back at this document, you know, the possible sites for where they could build a coaster, there's not really that many. So yeah, as much as I don't think this is probably going to be the next coaster site, it certainly is one for in the future. Now, if we zoom in on that plan, you can see a couple of different areas. One of them is actually marked as an entertainment area, and that is actually all of this space over here on car parks G and H, but it's also split into a coaster site as well, which looks to be off here to the right. So obviously you've got Galactica just over there. So yeah, this is a possible site where we could see a coaster in the future, and also possibly expand on the entertainment offerings over on this left hand side here. You've got to think the roller coaster restaurant that opened quite a few years ago now, and they did put in this nice walkway, we call it the Yellow Brick Road, that runs down the back just there. So we could see possible entertainment options going here, maybe restaurants, bowling, more kind of venues for on an evening, that sort of thing, installed down here in the future. Possibly a permanent second entrance. Obviously they now use the Galactica gate as an entrance to roller coaster restaurants, and hotel guests can use it to access the theme park, but you know, it's still not a proper main grand entrance like going in down at Towers Street. So could we see this area developed into that still in the future? It was clearly in the plans back in 2010. Nothing's come to fruition yet, and I'll tell you why I think that is in just a moment. But yeah, on that, it shows half of this car park as entertainment space and the other half as a coaster site, meaning that that would probably be down at the bottom here. Now, that gets me really excited because, you know, it's a big site down here. It's also well covered up with the trees. And we also know that Galactica and Nemesis are only around the corner. And we know what they can do with the layouts there. Both great rides. So yeah, it just made me excited to see what they could do, especially if they dug down a little bit here. Now, I'm pretty confident the reason why we didn't see them plans go through for this area is because of the parking situation here at Alton Towers. Because during busier periods such as summer and events, they really do struggle for parking, and in fact they have to use the meadows over at the side, the big hilly fields, for parking. Now, that takes me to a few years ago when Alton Towers actually put in an application to build more parking down on them grassy fields. They weren't going to be tarmacking it because they wouldn't be allowed, but they'd be putting something under the grass to make it more easy to park on. Now, that was put in a few years ago. We've still not seen that happen yet, but when that does happen, this would then free up more area for park development, aka G&H car park down here. So it wouldn't surprise me if that happens in the future, but I think it's unlikely to be the next coaster site here at Alton Towers. I think this could more be, you know, Secret Weapon 10. We're looking longer in the future for this one. And can you imagine Secret Weapon 10, massive site like this? They could do something great, possibly intertwine it with a new entrance down here, going into this part of the park, new restaurants, a bit of a Disney Springs, Universal City Walk style down here. At the moment, it's just this path. But who knows, in the future, we could be looking at a massive new entertainment district and a coaster down here as well. But I just think first, they need to get them parking issues sorted out before we see that development down here. Well, I've now made my way round into the theme park here at Alton Towers. And yeah, the grounds really are beautiful here. Absolutely stunning, especially in the summer. And yeah, you can see the Towers ruins just over there. And yeah, all of the wonderful trees. Now, you might be thinking, hang on a minute, Alton Towers, they've got loads of room to build new rides. It's a huge site, and in fact, not much of the park has really been built on. Well, there's a reason behind that, and you've got to think of the beautiful Towers ruins and the gardens here that started it all. So many parts of Alton Towers aren't allowed to be built on, they are protected, and also as well, a lot of the trees and landscaping is actually protected here at Alton Towers as well, which means when it comes to getting planning permission for rides, that's something that they do really struggle with. Back in 2003, Alton Towers and their design team wanted to build a wooden roller coaster here at Alton Towers. John Wardley actually designed a cross-valley wooden coaster that would start over in what was then Ugland, now Dark Forest, on the other side of the valley, and actually cross behind the gardens, not through the gardens, behind them, over to Forbidden Valley. Now, the plans for this ride were absolutely mind-blowing. I remember seeing them at the time and being blown away. In fact, here are the plans just now. So yeah, the station would have been over in what was then Ugland, kind of next to where the Corkscrew was, where 13 is now. And then there'd be a lift hill before dropping down into the valley with a 200-foot drop, which was absolutely crazy at Alton Towers that can't build above the tree height. But because it would all be hidden away in this valley, would have been incredible. Would have then come back up towards Forbidden Valley, round the back of Air, of course what's now Galactica, into a turnaround section and a second lift hill before plummeting riders down another huge drop, back down the valley and then onto the other side again before completing a couple more elements before heading into the station. It would have been an incredible ride. This was 2003, it was a John Wardley design, and it was one that many of us wanted to see. However, the plans were withdrawn because of the locals worrying about noise, the heritage, and the fact that it wasn't going to be built in the gardens but very close to them. At the time, they were quite concerned, especially with it being a wooden roller coaster. It wasn't until 7 years later in 2010 when we heard about the Cross Valley project again, and that was when we actually saw that development plan, the 10-year plan for Alton Towers and what they wanted to do. And yes, they were still looking actually at using the Cross Valley section of the park as an area for a roller coaster. And that area today would actually be a little bit further just down here. Now, I'm not actually allowed to walk down there because, as you can see, there's no access past this gate. But yeah, I'm just down here in the gardens, past the pagoda fountain. There's another pool of water just down here that you can't quite see. but then yeah, it would have been built behind there, so it wouldn't have affected the gardens in any way, other than the fact that you would have heard some noise down here from the ride. However, that's no different to actually hearing the noise of other rides now. You can hear Rita echoing down here, the roar of Nemesis, well for now anyway, and also Galactica. So yeah, you can already hear quite a lot down here. Not forgetting the Sky Ride with the beeping noise. But yeah, it would have been way down there. A lot of people kind of thought, oh, it would be very close to the pagoda, but now you look at them plans and you study them, it would have been another couple of hundred feet down in that direction where the ride would have been built. Now, of course, we're in 2022 now, meaning it's been 12 years since we saw that 10-year development plan and heard about them wanting to build something down there again as part of that. So yeah, 12 years on, nothing still happened with that site. And we all know the reason why. It is because of the location of it. As much as a ride there, a roller coaster would be absolutely incredible. It could have huge drops, inversions. I don't think we'd see another wooden coaster built there, and that's because of Wicker Man opened in 2018 and the maintenance of that. I think Alton Towers, even before they had a Woody, didn't realise the maintenance and how much it takes to look after a wooden coaster. Hence why we do see Wicker Man have quite a bit of downtime. But yeah, I don't think we'd see a second Woody here. However, possibly a hybrid coaster, a B&M Hyper, something along them lines could be great down there. However, I still think it's highly unlikely to happen. But you never know, at some point in the future, it could still happen. I would love to see it personally, as long as it didn't take away from the gardens and what it's about. Noise-wise, I don't think that's a problem because you can already hear lots of other rides from down here. However, it's more the visual impact. It would have to be dug down and actually fit with the shape of the valley, the kind of curvature of it, which it would have done. Standing here now, if that ride had been built, you wouldn't know that it was there. You wouldn't be looking down there behind the pagoda and seeing like track and airtime hill. It would have all been in with the landscape of the ride, you know. So it's very interesting to see what may happen with this site in the future, because there is still a chance, and that's why I wanted to mention it in this video today, because you know, it is one of 3 sites really that I think we're likely to see the next secret weapon built here at Alton Towers, you know, so I did want to mention it. And just to add to that, I'm now up here at the top end of the gardens, close to Dark Forest, and yeah, where the ride kind of would have started. I mean, we're not at the exact location because again, the area is restricted, but yeah, just beyond this gate, a couple of 100 feet down there, that's where I would have seen the top of the lift hill, where it would have dropped down over 200 foot and into the valley. It really would have been an incredible ride, especially for a park like this that can't build above the tree height. To hide it away like that into the terrain would have been incredible, and I still think there's hope in the future. You never know. However, I can see the previous site being used that I mentioned first up on G&H car park. However, there's a site that I think is more than likely going to be used for the next coaster, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. Now, there's an area right at the back of the park that's known by enthusiasts as Coaster Corner, and in fact I'm just going to show you that now here on Google Maps. It's located right behind the World of David Walliams, just off to the left of where Flavio's Fabulous Fandango is, and in fact where that Sizzler sits today, that's where the pathway used to extend down to that site. Now, during the 80s and 90s, that area was the home of a few different roller coasters here at Alton Towers. However, since the late 90s, that area has actually not been used for any further development for the theme park. That was mainly because of noise complaints from the village of Alton that is very close to there. There was a ride called the Alton Mouse in that location at one point. It was very noisy, it could be heard from further down in the village, and that really led to that area of the park not being used again for theme park development. Now, this was the 90s, we're going back over 25 years, you know, so what I'm thinking is, now with technology and how it's evolved, and things can be quieter, such as we go back to 2010 and 13's Lift Hill. Now, back in the day, they'd never been able to build a roller coaster where 13 is, right down into the woods. Obviously, the corkscrew was at this part of it, but where it goes down into the woods, they wouldn't have been able to do that because of noise. It's only because of technology and things like quieter lift hills as where they've actually been able to improve things like that and the noise that the rides make. So it does make me think that that area could possibly be the next site for Secret Weapon 9 here at Alton Towers. Now, just to explain where this area is, obviously I've already shown you it on Google Maps, but for those of you that still don't really know and want me to visualize it for you, it's actually behind those trees. So you've got the dungeon off to the left, we're on the pathway between the World of David Walliams and also the Sky Ride at the moment. And yeah, it's behind those trees and kind of behind the theatre over at David Walliams there as well. Now, there is a lot of pros as to why that site could be used. It's been used for something before. It's also got some existing paving, much like this, down in that area as well. I mean, it's probably going to need to be redone if they use that site, but still, it has got some basic infrastructure down there. Now, there is a couple of problems with it though, and that isn't just the noise, it's also the fact that Alton Towers currently use that area for a lot of back of house storage. Lots of old things are stored around there, little bits of theming and props, and also as well, the waste disposal area is around there as well, which does make you think that's got to be relocated somewhere else if that site round the back of there was to be used. Now, something that you've also got to think about is access to that site as well, if it was to reopen as part of the theme park. Now, you can hear it in the background, you've got Flavio's Fabulous Fandango here. Well, right next to here, you can just kind of see where the operator's cabin is. There's a gate, and yeah, that was the old access down to Coaster Corner, and when them rides used to be located down there. So obviously this is a temporary ride, so this could be moved out of the way to get access to down there. However, if they wanted to keep this, you've also got to think of other options. Could they maybe use the theatre, put a pathway going through there and out to the back? Could they maybe remove the Alton Towers dungeon and send you around that way? Or the trees that I was filming just outside of this area, could they maybe clear them and then send you around the back of Flavio's onto a coaster site round the back? It's all really interesting, and yeah, it's got me thinking these past few weeks. It's been quite a while now since Wicker Man opened, over 4 years. I do think we're going to hear some news soon about Secret Weapon 9. It really does get the imagination flowing when you think about future projects here at Alton Towers. It really does. It's a massive space, but yeah, like I say, the areas where they can actually build a new roller coaster are actually pretty limited here at the park, and that's why I wanted to talk about the 3 that I think we are going to see rides on at some point in the park's future. Even Cross Valley, I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but you never know, it certainly could at some point in the future. Now, in terms of putting them 3 in order, in terms of how likely they are to get built on, I think for me, 3rd place, it's got to be the Cross Valley project, and that is because of the location of that, the fact they've tried it really in the past, they never fully went through with it. It's clear that that is still a potential site, however, there's still easier sites to use for the next secret weapon. I think then in 2nd place is going to be G&H Car Park, where I started the vlog, and that's because that area, yes, will be perfect for future development, not just with a new roller coaster, but either an entire new themed area, expanding on Forbidden Valley, or maybe something completely different with an entertainment complex and a new entrance. But still, that is a nice big space to be used. They've just got to sort out the car parking issue first before that's resolved, and until we start seeing signs of that happening, I don't think we're going to be seeing any development of a coaster or anything else on that site for quite some time. And that leads me with the site that I've just spoken about, and the one that I think is most likely to be the site of Secret Weapon 9, and that is Coaster Corner. Reopening that for the first time since the 90s. You've already got some basic infrastructure there. Technology has got better now. They may not be able to build something absolutely huge there because of its close proximity to the village, but we could easily be looking at a 13 style of coaster on that site. Or who's saying they wouldn't build maybe indoors on there? Yes, there's things to think about, like the waste disposal area that's around there, lots of storage, or the environmental area, and along with that, access to the site. However, they seem like relatively easy things to overcome compared to the other 2 main coaster sites. So yeah, whenever Secret Weapon 9 is going to be, I can see that being the site. Now, just before wrapping up this video, that just leads me on to talk about the time frame for this. When do I think we're going to see the next big coaster at Alton Towers? Well, we know that Chessington are opening their coaster for next year, 2023. If Thorpe Park do get the planning permission, 2024 for Project Exodus. That makes me think, could it be 2025 when we see it here? I think that's quite realistic, especially looking at the time frame of the other rides and the plan application that have gone in. It's normally done a couple of years before the planned opening with planning. So yeah, I can see it possibly being for 2025, the next coaster here at Alton Towers. I still think they've got things to resolve before before then. Obviously we know of some sort of project that's now happening at Jewel for next year. However, they still need to sort out the flat ride situation here at the park first before another coaster, in my opinion. However, we've had a lot of people asking us, and it's really got me thinking these past few weeks, when are we going to see a coaster? 2018, Wicker Man, quite a long time ago now, since the last secret weapon. So let me know your thoughts, comment down below. But yeah, of course there is other sites in the park that could possibly be used, but they're the three most likely, the ones that really scream out without removing any other rides here at the park. So I would love to know your thoughts down below in the video comments, so make sure you drop them down below so that I can have a look through all of your comments on that. But there we go, Secret Weapon 9, when, where, who knows, but I think we've got a good idea that maybe Coaster Corner could be that spot for in the future, whenever that may be. You go back to that original plan from 2010, you know, that development plan, and it does show that also as a coaster site, so it does make me think that is certainly something on the cards for in the future. I'm Sean Sandbrook, thanks for watching Theme Park Worldwide here from Alton Towers, and that leaves me with one final thing to say: get out there and keep on riding. See you all in the next video.